At my worst, I was sitting in the back of the car, like headphones on and a blindfold on. I was stinging myself several times a week with bees. I spent thousands of dollars where they have you sit in a chair and they twirl you around to kind of reset the crystals in your ears. I've been to so many doctors. I've been to the ER probably 8 to 10 times. I had probably like 10 different diagnoses. The sad part of all that is nothing helped. And it only made me worse.
How good did it feel to throw away your supplements?
I remember being very excited and telling my husband, like, I'm going to do this program. And he's like, another program again? This didn't require putting things inside of my body, torturing my body by going through all these invasive things. And my life drastically improved when I started your program. By the end of the 16 weeks, I was sitting in the car. We were going on road trips before I was blindfolded with headphones on.
Sounds like freedom.
Yeah, that's freedom.
So today I'm talking with Julia over here. And Julia, a few years ago, after a long period of stress, right, you started experiencing panic attacks, which basically led your world to shrink. I remember you telling me about the fact that you were housebound for a couple of months and you had quite your journey into kind of researching what's going on. Is it anxiety? Is it something else? And then obviously going through that recovery journey. Julia, can you take us back to the time when anxiety was at its worst? How did your life look when it was at its worst?
First off, I want to say thank you for letting me share my story, Jort. My journey is, it's been a multi-year journey. At its worst, I got to a point where I was homebound, so I wasn't really able to leave the house. And later I learned that that is called agoraphobia. And as well, I could not drive anywhere. At my worst, I was sitting in the back of the car. My husband was driving me everywhere. And I was so overstimulated by being in the car. I had like headphones on and a blindfold on. That's how bad it got. And I just was so afraid of being home alone. So I constantly needed somebody there around me 24/7. And I just couldn't function. And before that, it was about 2 years until I got to that point. And there were so many things that I had tried to figure out kind of what was going on with me, because I've been to so many doctors. I've been to the ER probably 8 to 10 times and nobody knew what was wrong with me. And it wasn't just what I know now as anxiety or panic, but what seemed at the time was I had probably like 10 different diagnoses because the symptoms were so widespread throughout my body, and different providers were telling me that I had all kinds of different things. And so it was just a soup of trying to navigate, honestly, this on my own and just trying so many things until I found your program.
And what were some of the diagnoses you got?
Yeah, so some of the diagnoses that I got were POTS, postural orthostatic, I think, hypertension. And they were telling me that I had chronic Lyme disease, Epstein-Barr virus. So I went down that whole path of naturopathic care where they made me do a lot of those different tests. And kind of things showed up on those tests, but I don't remember ever being bitten by a tick. So that was kind of one of the things that I explored was chronic Lyme disease. And I did a lot of crazy treatments throughout these 2-3 years before your program.
I remember you talking about, was it bee venom therapy?
Yeah, exactly. So I got so desperate and I just didn't know what to do. And one of the providers that I was seeing, who was giving me a lot of different IVs, thinking we had, maybe a deficiency in different things and that IVs could help, they were kind of like an expert in bee venom therapy. And so I got to the point where I got myself like my own bees and I kept them at home and I was feeding them and I was stinging myself several times a week with bees and just putting them on my back and hoping to see some improvement.
Wow.
So
that's dedication though. That's dedication to recover. If only it would have helped. Wow.
I mean, honestly, just thinking back to all the crazy things I did. But I mean, last night I was just really reflecting on all the therapies that I've done. I have gone to a neurology clinic and spent thousands of dollars where they have you sit in a chair and they twirl you around to kind of reset the crystals in your ears. I explored coffee enemas, detox protocols. I had a lot of gut issues, and so I did a lot of like heavy antimicrobial supplementation. And I think what the sad part of all that is nothing helped, and it only made me worse and
Yeah.
more stuck, and had spent so much money on supplements. I just, probably a few months back, I chucked everything, threw it all away, and it was shocking to see how many bottles of supplements that I had accumulated over this
Wow.
entire kind of journey. And all of this was just done out of desperation, truly, and wanting
Yeah.
to get better. Yeah.
Well, of course, because you didn't know it was anxiety, right? And if you did, or when you did, you didn't know how to deal with it, right? Because before, when you did the bee venom therapy, or you did when you're taking the supplements, you still thought it was like Lyme disease or POTS or anything else, right? You weren't yet diagnosed with anxiety, or were you?
So I was never diagnosed with anxiety. And one time when I was at the ER, one of the providers did tell me, "I think you're having anxiety or some issues there. So try this, prescription for a medication." And at that time, I didn't take it because uh, I brushed that off. Like, no, I have so many issues going on here. This is serious,
Yeah.
and I feel like I'm dying. Um, and I came to the ER every time. Everything looks good. Blood work looks good. All the CT scans look good. I've done so many tests. And I think once I've tried everything, I really got to the point of like, this doesn't make any sense. Because if something was really wrong with me, I mean, it would have showed up somewhere, and it's just not. So
Yeah.
I really felt like I had to reevaluate everything that I was doing, because I was spending hours on my phone every day, on my computer, researching what is
Mm,
that next treatment, what is that
yes.
next provider, and everybody seems to have the solution for this nowadays.
Yes. Yeah.
They try this supplement or these herbal protocols. And also, one more thing that I did that was kind of right before I started your program, I was on a 1 year acupuncture plan with a provider. So I did weekly acupuncture for several hours a week. And they prescribed me different, like Chinese medicine, a different, like, concoction of herbs.
Yes.
And they would, adjust those herbs as we went. And I never really enjoyed those treatments because it's needles. And I just remember laying there and for an hour or two, and just like I felt like I was constantly going to have a panic attack, because it was the room was a bit stuffy and warm, and I was alone in the room with the door closed. So many of those things kind of were building until I saw your master class and kind of a little intro into your program. But at that point, I felt like I had to try everything to get myself to that point. Otherwise, I wouldn't have believed anybody that this could all be anxiety. I never knew that anxiety can affect your whole body and give you a range of symptoms. Like, I
Yeah.
just never knew that.
It's crazy, isn't it? How
Yeah.
good did it feel to throw away your supplements?
It felt really good.
Hmm.
And a lot of them were expired, luckily. But I mean, some of them I never even opened. I had just bought out of
Yeah.
desperation. And just the act of buying them calmed me down. Like, okay, we got this. This is going to fix this, and we're going to be better. And it felt really good. That was a huge milestone for me, to just kind of close the chapter and move on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. So, and you just mentioned, you were when you were going through the acupuncture, for example, you were worrying about panic. Can you take us through the first moment you had, your first panic attack, which was at the cinema, if I remember correctly? What happened?
So actually, I did have a panic attack at the cinema, but before I joined your program, I started to realize that the first event that ever happened to me was actually a panic attack. And that was really clear after starting your program as well. So at that point in my life, when all this started, I had a lot of stressors going on. I had a lot at work. I was working probably 60 plus hours a week for months on end on a project. I had a new puppy at the time. I had some personal life stress. So I was constantly going and going. And even before that, I recognize I've always been more of that kind of type A personality, very ambitious and constantly needing to accomplish something. So what's next? What's next? And I never really maybe enjoyed the journey to anything because I'm constantly what's next.
Yes.
And one day I was exercising on my Peloton, and then I got in the shower, and in the shower, I just felt like my whole body was shutting off. I thought I was having a stroke, and I came out of the shower and I ran downstairs and laid on the couch, and luckily my husband came that time, and I told him we need to call 911, like I think I'm having a stroke or a heart attack. And I really thought that this was something really serious because I've never had anything close to this happen to me. And so the paramedics came out, ran the tests, everything's fine, follow up with your doctor. And at that time, I had no clue what that was. It never even registered to me that that was actually anxiety or a panic attack until, two years later when I joined your program.
Wow. It's crazy, isn't it? As you said, how much anxiety can show up in the body, like how much changes in the body can happen, or how we get a list of 100 plus symptoms potentially that you can get, which could mean something else, right? So it's like, which is obviously also why you did so much research, because all these symptoms could mean something else. And it's always a good thing to a degree to obviously get yourself checked out. This is one of the things we say right before you join, you want to get yourself checked out. But there's also a point of where you go into this rabbit hole. And unfortunately, no one was able back then to tell you, or you wouldn't have believed it, which is a fair point, that it was anxiety. And this is also the journey we have to go through. It's like, if I look at my journey in hindsight, I can say, like, look, if I would have just done this 6 years earlier, I wouldn't have lost so much in life or whatever. I would have been, I would have, saved 6 years. But we don't always get to that point until we do. And then only then it starts to click. But before that, maybe you weren't ready because you had to walk the routes of, is it Lyme? Is it something else? You go through that. After that first attack, or after that ER moment, how did your life start to shrink? Can you tell us a bit about that?
The weeks and months after, my life didn't really start to shrink because I didn't understand what it was. And they told me that everything was okay. So I kind of just kept going with my life. But I had so many gastrointestinal problems at that time. I had my appendix removed. So my brain was so focused on that and kind of just living my life. And I remember I traveled abroad. But none of that really showed up for a while again, until I had started going down that rabbit hole and exploring more and more. And then everything started getting worse, where I just started staying in my house because I just couldn't handle it. I couldn't walk to my mailbox. I remember my husband holding me up, walking to the mailbox. I mean, it's crazy just thinking about this right now. And even just sitting in my car and putting on the seatbelt, that I had to try that several times before I can even attempt to go anywhere. And my world shrunk very quickly once things started to ramp up after, searching for solutions and trying things. I was, stuck in the house completely. I couldn't even walk my dog at all.
Wow.
So I could just sit on my bench outside my house, and even that was too hard at times. So it's shocking, honestly, how quickly things can happen when you really start to avoid life.
Were you consciously avoiding life because it may trigger panic? Were you avoiding panic, like situations that you feel like, oh, if I go by car or if I go walk the dog, if I get a panic attack, what do I do? Was that the reason behind it? Did you realize that was the reason why you started to avoid things?
Yeah, I started to avoid things because I couldn't handle it. It was hard for me to even wake up in the morning, to even be at home, even with somebody home. Like it was just so bad. I couldn't sleep at night, probably a few hours a night. I had those nighttime panic attacks, and like it was just a day just to survive each day. And it was purely, I just thought I was in danger. Like I thought something was wrong with me and I shouldn't be overexerting myself because clearly my body can't handle it. So I thought at the time.
What were some of the things that may have helped you temporarily?
So if I'm remembering correctly, because it's been a while since that
No.
time, I had like essential oil, like lavender essential oil in my
I
bag.
I remember that. I used to have that too.
And I also, when I would have to do something that really triggered me, which could have been something so minimal, I did a lot of laying on my back with the legs up the wall to try to like elicit a parasympathetic response in my body kind of more forcefully. Um, so I did that and I tried some meditations. I tried some Joe Dispenza meditations, but I honestly just avoided as much as possible and
Yeah.
needed to have somebody with me at all times.
Did you believe back then that there's something terribly wrong with you, or what was you how did you look at yourself when you were so agoraphobic and stuck?
I think for me, I knew that there was nothing horribly wrong with me because this kind of showed up out of nowhere for me. Like I was never bitten by a tick that I could see. Um, I never went through any huge traumatic experiences in my life as what I thought is trauma, something huge. I was just in a stressful period in time, and I didn't understand how I could have gotten to this place. How is it possible that I'm just all of a sudden sick and in a few months just overnight like disabled? I honestly didn't believe it. And even when I was doing all those treatments, there was still a big part of me that didn't believe it would work, even because I didn't believe that I was truly sick inside, but the symptoms spoke louder in my head to convince me that I am.
And when you finally learned it was anxiety, did that give you a bit of relief?
I think it gave me a bit of a relief. And in the beginning, I was just confused, um, because to really start to put everything into the anxiety umbrella under that, to kind of move all those symptoms and diagnoses under that, that took me a little bit of time to kind of grasp that concept that a lot of it is related to nervous system, just sensitization.
Did you catch yourself wondering, like, but what if it isn't? What if it still is something else? I mean, you didn't kind of believe you were sick, but did you ever have that kind of like health worry where you were like, well, what if it isn't anxiety?
I always had like a fear that I had some kind of rare condition
Mhm.
or
Yeah.
CRPS or some kind of real chronic pain issues. But I think like once I had gotten to your program, I really was at the point where I had already tried and addressed the protocols for all the different things where I could clearly see there was no progress. So I felt more convinced and more set that this has to be it. I mean, this has to be related because I've tried everything else and
Yeah.
nothing's working.
Do you remember what it was that when you saw my video, maybe the masterclass you mentioned, what was it that made you feel like, this is interesting?
Yeah, it's been quite a while. I just remember your page or your video popping up on my feed, and I listened to your free masterclass. And the way that you connect with people, you have a special way of really connecting with people who you make it in a way so you really understand what we're going through. And I knew you knew what we went
Yeah.
through just by the way you described everything. If you had never gone through this, I don't think you could have shared um, your experience and knowledge in that kind of detail that it really spoke to me at such a level, because I had seen therapists in the past, but
Hmm.
they'd never had anxiety or panic,
Yeah.
even though they were, versed in psychology. So they don't relate in a way that you do. And the way that you were able to explain this information simply and draw it out, but also bring in your own experience, like I felt really comfortable and really set. And I remember being very excited and telling my husband, like, I'm going to do this program. And he's like, another program again? And because I have done so many things and been
Yeah.
on that hamster wheel. So he's like, okay, just I hope it works for you. But I was really excited about it because this didn't require putting things inside of my body, torturing my body by going through all these
I was just
invasive things.
I was just about to say, wouldn't it have been funny if the first video would be like get yourself a bunch of bees and let them
Yeah.
sting you.
Yeah.
No, and I resonate with that a lot. Where the first time I found about this, right, about acceptance, allowing anxiety, I was like, what? That sounds crazy. But also, it says that if you can master this, if you know how to actually respond to anxiety, you practice and you master it, it'll be inside you. It's you doing this, is your skill.
Mm.
And I was relying, like yourself, on lavender drops and or supplements or any other kind of things or meditation exercises. So that makes a lot of sense. You said to your husband, like, I'm going to do this. Was there any, how did you feel before doing that? Were you confident? Were you still a bit skeptical? Were you scared? Were you worried? How did you feel before you joined the program?
I mean, I don't think I was ever confident while I was really deep in it. I was hopeful. I think that was the right word. I was hopeful. And as I started doing your program, and something that really I told myself when I started your program was, I'm going to commit to this. Because my issue was I was trying so many things, but I never finish anything fully. Like I'll try it a little bit and then I'll quit when I don't see the result quick enough, or when the protocol feels just too overwhelming. So through this time, I felt like there was barely anything that I had really started from start to finish and really committed myself to. And I told myself I'm going to do this. And every week I had a reminder on my calendar. And I have my notebook still that I even look back at now, where I did the exercises and I followed everything in the course. And I think one thing that I realized is very quickly, and I mean, even now, is that everybody's journey is very different. Some people can recover in a few months, and other people take longer. And my journey has been a whole, several year thing. And I think I've come to accept that that's okay, that is what my pace is.
Yes.
Because it was such a huge, it was like a midlife crisis that happened earlier on, hopefully before my midlife.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
No, I get that, and you're right. That is okay because the more you force anxiety recovery to happen in a certain window, the less it's gonna happen, right? And yes, everyone's different, and sometimes some people have been in the cycle longer than others, and just various ways we deal with it. And this is a big thing I see with especially people who start. It's one, will it, they'll have the expectation it'll happen in a couple of weeks, a month, or whatever. They obviously want to have quick results, but recovery takes a little bit longer perhaps than you may like. Secondly, it's like, well, following through is a big thing. I think lots of people that watch may feel the way, like, how am I going to do, in this case, a 16-week program if I never commit to anything? What would you say to those people?
I think honestly, the whole anxiety journey, what I've learned up till this point is a lot of it. To me, two words come to mind: bravery and trust. You have to be brave to recover. You have to put yourself in uncomfortable situations, but you always have to think about the future you. I'm doing this for a future version of me. Looking back, that would be very proud of myself right now. And also learning that these symptoms are not going to kill me. So whatever happens, I'm not going to die. And it will be very uncomfortable, but I have to ride those waves to be able to recover. That's just the way out, is you have to go through these experiences and gain those skills. And I think the other word that I mentioned is trust. I felt like this whole journey, that is really, it's probably not a secret, but it's really rebuilding trust in yourself. And these kinds of journeys really make you reevaluate who you are and how you treat yourself. I was not treating myself very well. I was so stressed and burned out in my life and avoiding things, and just realizing that that's not how I want to live. And I never truly even understood what my body ever asked of me. I never gave myself proper rest. So really connecting to my feelings and feeling what my body is going through instead of trying to resist and suppress it to avoid anxiety. I think letting my body go through that wave and come out the other end, that is what really started to move the needle So really building that trust in yourself and just promising yourself a little bit each week to do the
Yeah.
course. It's not a huge time commitment, but it's important to practice. And I also think, like I mentioned, it's okay if you feel like you're not ready for something, but just take baby steps, baby steps. And since I started your program, I have kept a journal of my wins. So I
I
have
love
a
that.
journal that I wrote every milestone that I have hit since your program. And I looked back on it just like, walking my dog for 5 minutes in the dark at night or driving to the mailbox. I've kept a whole log of my wins for this whole year and a half period. And that has
I love
helped me
that.
so much when
Wow.
I feel like I have, so to say, a setback, but it's really not a setback. It means I have gotten to a new baseline, really, because every time I felt what I thought was a setback, my body just needed a little bit of time to recalibrate. And then my baseline always improved after that. So I always knew an improvement was coming when I felt worse. And that's just how my experience has been. But keeping track of your wins, now reading back, sometimes, I mean, I laugh a little bit, but I also feel incredibly amazed at the body's healing capacity. Your body will heal itself. It
Yes.
really
Wow.
will. And if you keep track of your wins, it's so helpful looking back. It'll really make you feel proud of yourself so you can keep your momentum going.
Exactly. This is an excellent, amazing explanation of how the recovery journey works, and a great tip to really write that stuff down, capture it, because as you said, you gotta go through it, right? It's uncomfortable. Unfortunately, anxiety recovery doesn't just mean like you just learn. Like learning is a part of it, and applying or implementing it is another big part of it, right? You gotta go through these moments of anxiety to teach the nervous system that you're safe. But the more you do that, the more, the better you get at it and the more wins you're going to have, however small. Like maybe looking back now, because it's funny that you say it, because actually a couple of
Mhm.
nights ago, I was reading through my phone and I found these old notes that I didn't put in my book, but I put it in my phone, apparently. And these were like the wins. And I remember, and now I remember like I was going on a bus and I was going into the city just for a cup of coffee on my own. And I felt like everyone was looking at me and the bus was busy. And I was like freaking out, panicking, but going through the acceptance, going through the steps and everything. And now looking back, it's silly, but it's like it puts you in this position of more of a maybe like gratefulness or feeling humble or whatever towards the journey and everything it's brought you, because it's very interesting as well that you're now looking back at it to say it may not have been the way I actually wanted to live, the way I used to live. And now I got back to this, or I got to a new version of myself, a truer version of myself, because of all this
Mhm.
anxiety,
So
because of this
true.
journey. And this is true to my own self as well. It's why and where I am right now is literally because of it. So there's a lot of beauty in that as well. Once you can only see it once you get out of it. Obviously, in the middle is very hard. But I love
Yeah.
that, and I think that's great because it's like what we do is stacking the proof, right? You go out, you face anxiety, whether it's at home, whether it's elsewhere, it doesn't matter. Whenever it shows up, you practice the response, you get a win, write it down, or you stack
Write
it,
it
right?
down.
It's just like because
Yep. We
eventually,
stack it.
and I love what you said about the baseline thing. That's one of the most important things. Sometimes, with the brain has these thinking errors, right? These cognitive distortions.
Mhm.
Discounting the positive is one of them, or future pacing in a more negative way. Whereas right now you feel like, I'm in a setback. Nothing has worked. I haven't done anything, or whatever it is. And then you look at the facts, which is your list of wins. And you're like, whoa, I did all those things, which from my previous baseline, that was huge. So I know I can continue like this, and I'll be on this new baseline continuing.
Mhm.
Do you remember what was one of the biggest, if you want to call it setbacks or anything else that hit you? Do you remember that?
Looking back, I was pretty brave, honestly. So right before your program, I did try to go to a concert, a rock concert, and I had a panic attack on the train, but I still went to it, but it wasn't that fun for me because it was just such high panic. And then after that, I decided to try another concert, and we got there and I just couldn't do it. Like I sat there and I was closed in by people. I felt myself, I'm about to pass out. Like it was just so overwhelming for me, even with earplugs. I just couldn't do it. And I went home and I felt like a disappointment because we had gotten these tickets. And after that, it took probably a good week or two for my system to maybe get back to where I thought it was before. So, it's also giving yourself grace and allowing yourself rest. You don't constantly have to keep pushing yourself every day to prove to anxiety. And I think this is one of the major things that helped me along my journey was your body is not separate from you. It's always on your side. It's always fighting for you. It wants to survive. And when you mentally partner with your body and tell yourself, you know what, we can do this together. I'm here. I got you. Let's go on this drive. Or when you give yourself positive reinforcement, like I had really bad driving anxiety, kind of like similar to Amy, who you talked to
Yeah.
on a previous call. And when I did a few things that really helped me with driving anxiety, like smiling, every time I felt that I was having a difficult time driving, I would just smile and keep a smile on my face. And that really gave me positive reinforcement. And I sat in the car like, okay, we're going to go do this. We got this. Doesn't matter how I felt, that little positive reinforcement helped me. Or when I was at a stoplight and I felt that panic rise, I would say woohoo, like really in a
Yes.
happy voice. And those things actually really helped me with my driving. And I think one of the things that from your program I learned those different steps to recognize, observe, and then I kept repeating those steps so much. And I got to a point where I felt like I was stuck because I was in that loop of repeating your steps.
Yeah.
And then it got to a point where I know how to do this. I have to stop the loop in my head of repeating your steps and I have to live my life. So I think there was a period of time that I was so into using what I learned from you, but then I felt like I was stuck because I wasn't embracing, I wasn't living my life. I was rehearsing the steps all the time when I had shown my brain so many times, I can do this. I can walk my dog on this trail. I think that transition is important to make during the program, that there comes a point where you have to stop proving it to yourself. You don't need to
Yes.
prove anything anymore.
That's it. And that I'm so glad you brought that up because that is one of the key things. This is a kind of kind of natural bridge where you would get to, which is very good to know beforehand, where it's eventually anxiety recovery is not a tick the box kind of thing. At a certain point in the journey, it is maybe it's like learning the techniques, the response. How do you respond correctly? What are those 5 steps that I teach? And you practice them. You apply them as much as you can. Maybe you go do some things that, just to kind of practice to show yourself you can, which is great, which is how you get that confidence, right? You, as you said, you
Mhm.
didn't feel confidence before started. You feel hopeful. Well, guess what? Almost no one feels confident before starting because confidence comes after you start, right? After
Right.
you take action and after you prove to yourself that you can do this, which is what you've got. And when you do these things, they can become a little bit of addicted sometimes, where you just want to go and do exercises like exposure exercises, whatever you want to do, and then but all of a sudden you just drive into Walmart and back, or you're driving and you do your grocery shopping, even though you have everything in the house, whatever, and it's not like your life anymore. So eventually you got to go to a point where you're just like, I'm going to do what I want or need to do. And if anxiety shows up, I know these steps. And you don't, also a great thing you mentioned that is you made them your own. It's not like, these steps are just there to make responding to anxiety practical. 5 steps, easy to remember, one for every finger, right? But
Right.
eventually it becomes Julia's response, right? Is your own. I cannot tell you how acceptance or allowing anxiety feels for you. That is something you got to kind of figure out. And that is what you've done. And do you feel like this is a bit off topic now, I guess, but do you feel you were or have been or are a bit perfectionistic, where you'd have these high stakes on yourself? You really want to do it right and you'd go for these exercises, go full in and put some pressure on yourself? Or do you feel like that doesn't apply to you in this case?
I don't think I did that, honestly. I think I realized when I got what I thought was I was really sick, I realized the life I was leading, which was always doing everything 110% when only maybe sometimes 80's required, and
Yeah.
making sure I I stay on schedule for everything, clean the house when I say I will, not giving myself slack. I think when I started your program, I realized like I just can't do that. My body doesn't want to do that anymore. And what I did in the past is not working. And this journey has been on my path for a reason. And I believe that because otherwise I would keep going in my life and be miserable, which I was at that time. And I would have never realized it until something had stopped me. And this had stopped me. And I don't think I'm a perfectionist anymore. I can say that.
I love
Um,
that.
because I don't need to be. I don't need to be. I need to listen to my body and myself and do what I want. Of course, despite anxiety showing up, it's normal to be nervous. But yeah, I think that these kinds of situations can happen to people who have those kind of personality tendencies, and I was one of those.
Where are you now compared to being housebound?
I'm a lot better. I'm pretty much leading a normal life. I drive myself most places where I want. And interestingly, I think this anxiety journey has really helped me to even push myself a little bit in ways that I um, didn't think. Because in the past, I had never driven on the highway before in my entire life because I lived
Yeah.
in the suburbs and where I worked, I never really had a need to drive on the highway and I would let somebody else always do that. And
Yeah.
since starting this journey and just even being afraid to even drive to my mailbox, I thought, let me add the highway in because that's something I really want to be able to do is to be able to drive comfortably on the freeway. And that's something that I've been working on. And my parents were visiting us for the holidays, and I drove my parents and I to the coast here. It's about like a 1.5 to 2 hour drive, and there's some windy roads. It
Wow.
was rainy, foggy, parts on the highway, and I did it. And
Wow.
yeah, it was uncomfortable because I hadn't driven for that long, honestly, since the start of the program, where it was challenging. It was foggy, rainy, and all this stuff, but I did it. Um, and that was a win in my notebook. And I,
Yeah, sure is.
so,
Sure
I
is.
mean, my life has expanded so much. I've been able to socialize more with people, make some new friends in my area. I've also been able to reevaluate what I want in my life for a career. I just have freedom. And the fact, once I started to get that freedom a little bit with the driving and being able to leave the house on my own, like I was so shocked. Wow, I had so much freedom before anxiety. It's amazing the feeling, the
Yeah.
liberation that you get when you start to get those glimpses of freedom and being able to go to concerts, which I like to do, no problem. Yeah, it's amazing. Honestly, I'm amazed at what the body can do, that it can heal itself, and you really just have to have patience with yourself. It's
Yeah.
important. Yeah.
That's it. And you did it, right? You helped your body heal because that is in the end what your body wants to heal, but we as humans have to learn to get out the way and
Mhm.
stop trying to control everything so the body can heal, which is incredibly tough, as you and I both know, because
Mhm.
it's so freaking scary. And anyone watching this will know, I'm sure. It's like all these symptoms and all these overwhelm and all these things we don't want to do because what if, and then we do, and then we get overwhelmed and we may have to leave the concert and
Mhm.
lose the tickets and everything. So it's like it's a big roller coaster. But eventually, you taught yourself and you made yourself go through this and trusted that process. You have set hold yourself accountable. You set the intention to finish the whole thing, which you did. And look where you are now, and it's your body that followed there, which is you definitely should be proud of yourself. And I love how you view it because that's the way I look at it now. I kind of view anxiety, which I could now call maybe like fear or nervousness, whatever you want, as a guard dog, like or symptoms as a guard dog for when I'm like too stressed because obviously like sometimes you're working way too much or there's lots of things going on and suddenly you feel a bit strange. Whereas maybe before, definitely when I was sensitized, I would spiral out of control, get panic
Right.
attacks. Now it's like, oh, it's a stress symptom.
Mhm.
Maybe I should, take a day off or whatever, or take a little bit better care of myself. So it can give you a lot as well. Where sometimes that leads to you making changes in your life. Do you feel like you've made some changes in your life, whereas you demand a little less of yourself, or you combine a better balance in your work life or anything like that?
I think I'm still exploring in general work-life balance and trying to find what that means for me. But in general, I feel like I am more going off of what I truly want or how I feel. I don't force myself to do many things like I did in the past. I make sure that I get rest. I make sure I get enough sleep at night. And I am also adding in self-care practices, things that I enjoy. I enjoy exercising and finding movement that makes me feel good. I enjoy going for a walk with my dog and in silence, no headphones on. I enjoy fresh air, taking a bath sometimes, self care. So just finding that, or cooking some new recipes, listening to some new music, or treating myself. Sometimes I still go on a drive and treat myself of like, oh, I'm so proud of myself. I'll get a little
Love that.
coffee or something like that.
That's freedom.
So yeah, that's freedom.
Sounds like freedom. That's beautiful. What would you say to someone that's watching right now from their house? Maybe they're homebound, like you were. What would you tell that person?
I would tell that person that, you're definitely at the right place, and just take a chance on this course because it's really worth it and it can really change your life. And the solution is inside of yourself. It's not external. And I really wish I could save people from that whole experience that I went through. I know for me, I just didn't believe that the solution was inside of myself till I got to this point. But it really is. And only you can get yourself out of this. You are in control. You're the master of your own, life. You're the captain of your ship. And it's important to really take that first step to try to rebuild trust in your body, because if something really scares you, that means you really want to do it. You really want to change. And just taking baby steps. It doesn't mean you're going to recover like what I thought in 16 weeks. My recovery took longer, and that's okay. That's fine. That's the pace that felt comfortable for me, felt comfortable for my body. So just know that there is hope, because I've been in such a horrible place I never thought I would get out of. Like, I was so depressed, so sick, couldn't do anything. And just to have, from that point, it's been probably, close to a year and 4 months at this point. My life is completely different. And my life drastically improved when I started your program. By the end of the 16 weeks, I was sitting in the car. We were going on road trips before I was blindfolded with headphones on. So I had so much improvement just during your course that when I continued everything that I had learned, I saw wins. Like, it just started happening and happening and happening. So you just have to really commit and tell yourself you're going to really try this, give this a solid try.
I love
And
that.
there is truly hope, because your body wants to see you, wants you to feel happy. It wants you to have a, good quality of life and be happy and healthy.
I love that. Well, thank you so much, Julia. This has really been inspirational. You provided lots of value and insight into the journey. And I'm really proud of you. I hope you are as well. And I love that list of wins that you have there in your notebook. So thank you so much for today and for sharing your story with us.
Thank you, Jort. Thank you for letting me share my journey. And I hope it's even a little bit helpful for somebody. That would make my day. So, yeah. Thank you.